Alright, here we go with number 6 of the build. I just torqued down the head bolts to 61 pounds. Said max is 61 and a half, so just did 61. Went around and just made sure they're all good to go. Now I'm going to start to put on the rocker arm assembly, clean that off, and put the push rods in, rocker arm assembly, and then we'll continue on from there. Alright, getting closer. I put all the push rods in. First thing I did is clean them off really well, and then just put a nice healthy glob of this assembly lube on them. And the way you do it is just put a big glob on the end, put it down there, and you can feel it go into the tappet. So they're all in there now, and now since I didn't take any of these out of adjustment, they're all adjusted to the way they were when I took them off the machine. I'm going to go ahead and just clean this up a little bit and lube it up and put it on the machine. Okay, I cleaned these all off, and looking at them, I'm seeing a hole in the top of each one of these rocker arms, so I'm assuming that's where the oil goes in when the motor's turning over and pumping. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of assembly lube or oil down in those holes, just so they're nice and lubed up. And then over here I put assembly lube on the top of each valve and on the end of each push rod. So when I put this rocker arm assembly on there, everything is going to be nice and lubed. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I got this tightened down and everything's lubed up, and just going with my hand, spinning it over, and all the lifters, everything is going up and down freely, and there's no binding or anything like that, so pretty happy with that. So moving on. Okay, upon further inspection I realized that this is way off. You're not supposed to have this much gap. And the reason for that is this rocker arm assembly is from the old head, and so are the push rods, but the head is new, the valves are new, guides are new, you know, everything's new on this side, and it has different tolerances. So I have to go and check the adjustment here. So what I'm doing is, I already did it on cylinder number 1, and the way you do it is you turn the motor by hand. This is the intake. This is the intake, so this is the intake valve. So you turn the motor over by hand until that valve is compressed to the bottom of its compression stroke. Right there, okay? Now, once that's there, it asks to have 0.18 to 22 millimeter gap. And I have 20. So I've already adjusted that one. And that slides in there. Just a little bit of resistance, so it's about 0.20 millimeters. Now, continuing on, I'll turn the motor over now and get the exhaust valve to compress all the way, to open all the way, okay? So, as I turn this, now you can see it's starting to go down. Once it gets to the bottom, right there, then I'll come over here with this feeler gauge, and again, I'll stick it in here. And I just have a little bit of resistance, so that's so right there, that's 0.20 millimeters. So that's what I want. So now moving along to the second cylinder. Okay, all you do is just come down here and just find the bottom, which is right when the valve is all the way opened. It's going to be right there. Now, as you can see, it's a huge gap. So on this side, you loosen this nut, okay? Take a flathead screwdriver, and as you screw down that screw, the arm starts to come down. Now I'm going to need 2 hands, but I'm going to take the feeler gauge and slide it in there at 2.0. Just tighten this down to it. Hold the screwdriver perfectly straight, and then tighten that nut back down. And that valve will now be at 0.20 millimeters. Then I'm going to run this over again until this spring is completely compressed, meaning that valve is completely open. And I come back to the the intake valve on that same cylinder and do the gap here. So these ones are done. They're at 0.20 millimeters. I'm moving along, and I'll just move down and do them in pairs. And then once I'm all done, I'll just run it through and check them all again just to make sure they're at 0.20 millimeters. So I'll show you that when I'm done. All right, I'm just got this camera up here. I just kind of want to show you what I'm doing here. Okay, you see that spring moving in there? It's all the way down there, and then it starts to come back up. So I just wanted to get it right at the bottom. Okay, that means the valve is completely open. And if you look at this rocker arm, you can see that there's a huge gap. So what I'm doing is putting my feeler gauge in there. Okay, now what I got to do is loosen the nut over here. Okay, just going to loosen this nut. Then take my screwdriver, tighten this down. Okay, I have it touching there. So my other hand, I'm going to take my feeler gauge, loosen this up again, take my feeler gauge, just tighten it down on the feeler gauge till it's just touching. Alright, so right there, just a little tiny resistance. And then without moving your hand, you got to tighten this nut up. So you just got to keep that screw straight with the screwdriver and tighten up the nut. Come back and check that it hasn't moved, and it's still just the perfect amount of resistance right there. So now when I turn this again and get that one to go all the way down. Hang on. Get this one to go all the way down. Right there. Come in with my feeler gauge and check this one. And I just adjusted that one, and it's perfect. I can just feel the gauge underneath that rocker arm. So those two valves are adjusted. So I've done these two, and I'm just going on to my last set. And you can see it's a huge gap. So I'm just going to do the same procedure, and then we'll get back to it. All right, I just went back through every single one of them and checked them, and they're all at exactly 0.20 millimeters. So that's right within specs. That's where I need to be. And I think now, I don't even know what I'm doing yet, so hang on. All right, well, it looks like last thing to do now is put on the valve cover, but I have it painted over there, so I'm not going to put that on for a minute yet. Yeah, I guess, well, I don't know. I guess we could work on this back here. I'm going to go get the flywheel and stuff and start putting that on. Well, that's it for today. I got the oil pan on and torqued, and I got these two plates put on the front and the back. They're what the motor sits on the in the frame with, and almost everything's on. I got to do exhaust manifolds. The exhaust manifold over here, I got to paint that, and then I had the intake manifold over here, and all the fuel injectors and injector lines and stuff like that. I'm just going to clean this up real good and paint it black, and these over here I'm going to clean up real good and paint them blue like everything else is. So I don't know, what do you think? Can I just bolt it to this table, or at least hold it tight and hook it up to fuel and see if it runs before I put it in the machine? Check for leaks and all that stuff. Give me some feedback, let me know. And rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks again for watching. Have a good day.